Okay, so what is the first step of the patient process? An inquiry. Someone says, I need help, or my loved one needs help, or they call in and say, is this Diamond Street? I need help. Other facilities, people, they're not going to tell them to call, or they're not going to look up on our website if they haven't heard good things, right? So our reputation, what we do is crucial. Our goal from that phone call is to create a little bit of an alliance, right? We don't just jump right into, hey, it costs this much to come. No, right? We say, what can we do to help? We really want to help you. Yeah? You know, whatever you need, if you need to go to a different facility or whatever, we'll find a place for you, right? We create that alliance. We help them know that we truly care about them. And then our next goal from that conversation phone call is the application. So here we've got an alliance and an application. We all say it, right? VOB is the next step. Verification of benefits. How do they come in, right? We got to pay all the staff salaries, right? We got to do all that. The way we do that is the patient has some sort of resource insurance is going to pay, right? So we have to verify their insurance to make sure it's one that actually will pay us, right? Because we can't stay in business if we don't, right? So this next step is the VOB. That's what we do on the admissions side. Okay, VOB. So we want to find out that it's active and accepted. What's the other one?
The benefits are active and accepted?
Yep. Or they have financial resources that are accepted, you know? Not like Chinese money, it's actually whatever, right? And then what's the other one? Some sort of a financial agreement in that process. Once we get that back, we have to call the patient and be like, I'm really sorry, your Medicaid doesn't pay for this treatment, so we're going to give you a referral to this place that does. Or, good news, you know, we do take your Healthy U insurance or your Molina or whatever we're in network for, right? Or any insurance that has out-of-network benefit. And so here is what your insurance says you're supposed to pay. Can you do that? No. Okay, well let's, you know, negotiate. I'll discount scholarship because we do that on almost every patient, right? We give some sort of discount because we care. We want to help them. So, admissions team, we're going to do the pre-screening, right? I don't know if you guys noticed, we don't really want people in there that are murderers and killing people, right? They have like impulse control issues, right? They've been known to just like slice people, chainsaw people, you know, whatever, right?
Thank you.
So we got to screen them out. So we do like almost a mini BPS on the front end. So that our clinicians get information and say, or yeah, I can work with that, you know, and they look at who's in the home and all those things. We get information, what drugs we're working with, so we know what withdrawal and medications and what things they might need for support. Does that make sense? If one patient's going to come in and make all the other patients uncomfortable, that's not good. So we need to protect the million. That's the patients that are there. That's the people that are already there. We choose the group over any one individual. That makes sense? So that's what we want to do and make sure we protect that. What's the other part of it? Action plan. This is something that I am going to be pressing hard on for the next 2 months, 3 months. Action plan means when we do that application, our clinicians look at that application, right? And try to get enough information from what they have on here. Admissions needs to do a better job of putting in on our application, there's initial goals on there. We need to write their initial goals. And then in detox, they have a readiness for residential document. That is one of the most important pieces to this whole plan. Because guess what happens? They come over to residential, right? They have these goals that we've talked about. You two know about it. They come in, all of a sudden 3 days later, they're meeting with their clinician. All right, what do you want to accomplish here, and what's going on? And, okay, well, we'll look at this and start creating some treatment plan, you know, whatever. Now we're 3 to 5 days in, we've lost time. If we go back to application with some initial goals and information of what they may need, what we think they could use, then they get the residential readiness document done, and it's like, oh, their goal at residential is to chemical dependency and do this. Cool. So now when the clinician meets them, looks like you want to do this and do this. And from your history, I think you really need to work on your anxiety and your communication, right? So together, we create a few goals and say, okay, again, like we talked about before, In residential, your plan is 2 weeks. Okay, that goal to fix your family relationship and stuff, that ain't happening in 2 weeks. You know, we're just getting you into the flow of lifestyle medicine, nutrition, giving you some healthy hobbies, starting the process with you a little bit. We haven't had time to get to your family connections yet, right? So that piece, we can probably continue in PHP, right? But we're gonna recommend you stay at least 30 days. That's our recommendation. You want 14? Do you see why you might need 30 days to accomplish that? And they're like, yeah, I do see how that makes sense. Okay, well, I'm gonna recommend 30 days. You good with 30 days? Cool, right? And then we motivate them, educate them on why they need more. Does that make sense? Probably one of our biggest problems in the company right now is that. Because we've mixed oil and water, executives, professionals, 2-week track, mental health patients that need 45 to 60 days, that's a problem. It's a problem. So we as a team have to come together and say, okay, we got to find solutions to this. How can we work with both populations together? We're already feeling it. Clinicians are like, this 2-week thing is really causing a problem because now every patient that comes in, they're like, I'm here for 2 weeks. I'm here for 2 weeks, right? All right, we've accepted that. That's okay. We've accepted that's what's going to be happening because people want that. And the industry wants that. And really, a lot of people, and partially me too, believes that residential is made for helping get the monkey off their back, get those chemical dependencies away, learn some new tips, skills, and lifestyle and habits and routines, which is why we say 28 days, because scientifically, that's how you change habit. You need at least 28 days to 40 days, right? So if their goal is to get healthy habits, 2 weeks ain't gonna work, bud. Not happening. Chemical dependency, maybe, yeah. Coping skills, yeah, we teach some of that. You good for 30 or 14? Okay, we'll cross that goal off or put that into the outpatient goal. That ain't gonna happen here, right? We'll meet you where you're at, 2 weeks, right? But your chance for success goes way up if you do 30 days. Realistic goals.
Yeah.
It's gotta be realistic. If your goal is to do something that takes 30 days, you can't do it in 14 days. And educate them on that. Try to motivate them to do more. And if they can't, say, okay, well, here's what's realistic. And so then go here, and then we'll help you at that level of care. So this is why I said it's one of the biggest problems. I've seen it so many times, and it just, it makes me so sad. You know, I could say several names right now, but there's several patients that have come, and they get to like day 10 to 14, and because of our accelerated healing, curse and a blessing, right? They get to day 14, like, I feel good. This plant-based stuff, I got energy, I'm off all my chemical dependencies, I'm not addicted anymore. This is why I basically went to treatment. Progress, right? This one, your communication, you've been practicing that, you got a worksheet here that you practice your boundary skills. Awesome. Okay, well, yesterday I saw your emotional dysregulation, you were freaking out. You really think you're ready to go? Like, what did you do when you freaked out? Right? You wanted to leave, right? You wanted to use, you got triggered. Right? You're not ready. If you can't regulate yourself like that, I can't pass off as a clinician that I feel you're ready. So this is why you need to stay a little bit longer. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Again, no promises ever made on the front end.
Right.
Ever.
Ever.
What they hear, like we said, what they hear and what they want may be different, but this is a promise. I promise we never tell them 2 weeks.
No, it's just, there's a disconnect. It's a big problem.
So that's where the clinician then just educates and says, look, you want 2 weeks? That's what you want? Okay, here's what we can accomplish, and then let's see what else we can accomplish at the next level of care. And we'll still support you. We'll meet you where you're at, but I don't feel good about it. Yeah. Then we might say, you may qualify for this, but it is a clinically driven decision every time. You see that they're down for 14 days, you look at their pre-screen, you go meet them and talk to them, and you're like, you need more. And you make that recommendation. And again, it's just meeting where they're at. All I'm doing is 14 days. I don't care. I know you think I need 30. I'm doing 14. Okay, well, let's make some realistic goals for 14 days then. We're gonna help support you where you're at. And then hopefully the next level of care, you can continue doing some of these things that we feel like you need. And if they fail, again, then they'll trust you more. More therapy goals. Don't be frustrated. Meet them where they're at. Make realistic goals with them, and you can let them know, look, are you sure you don't want to waste your time? I'm okay with that. If a clinician says, look, I'm not sure you want to waste your time. I don't want to see you get right back to where you were and waste $5,000 and then be right back at detox again and do this again. I don't. I strongly recommend you do 30 days plus. Nope, doing 14. Okay. Clinical clearance. It's the next step. Who's in charge of that, you think?
But I trust that action plan. I trust my team on that action plan to be able to come in and do the clinical clearance. So, yeah, that clinical clearance comes in here. I want my reference here.
So, just across here.
I'm going to put CC, clinical clearance there.
Okay.
So what happens is Jordan and Danette post their pre-screen on Yammer for Lisa or I to see. And we go into Best Notes and look at that pre-screen app, and we look at everything on there. All their history, all their information, what they want, and we clear them, and we make recommendations, which either goes to what says awareness. I mean, that's acceptance. You know, we're either accepting them in or we're referring them out. Either one, this is great, this will work, or it won't.
The awareness part, that is what we're talking about just barely, is that we're helping them as clinicians. When we clear them and start doing their BPS, we create an awareness to say, you know what, you want 2 weeks, because we put this question mark. We don't ever say that, we're not recommending, by the way, we're not ever recommending 2 weeks either on the front end. We're saying 2 weeks is what they want, just so you're aware, to work with that, educate, and motivate them to do more. Yeah, awareness is helping the patient be educated and aware of what we clinically think they need. Like they're aware of their issues and how long it should take.
Here's an example that happened this last week. I trust Jordan and Danette and working with the clients on the front end. We had one that was sent to Lisa and I. Guy had about a gram or two a day habit of meth and he wanted IOP. Hell no. Absolutely not. I'm trusting whatever it is they heard, being able to get off work, being able to do whatever. Like, I'll take a look at it because obviously they're not stupid. They're not up in the night. They know what this takes. So if the guy's saying I want IOP and I got a 2 gram a day habit, there's something to it. So we go in and we review that pre-screen app and we put clinical clearance on there or the recommendation on there and put it in investments to be able to go back to them and get them in.
And in the old days before COVID, we would have the clinicians be meeting with them to do the DPS more often, but now we're not as much, so it's more them looking at the pre-screen and giving us that recommendation. So with that patient, when he said, I want IOP, I think I need IOP, I don't need detox, I don't need res, even though me and Danette are both like, you know what, you've got meth in your system, you know, can you do a clean UA? Like, you need detox first. We need you to do that first. We're recommending these things. And they say, no, I'm ready for IOP. Okay, well, we'll let the clinicians make this final call because this is not our decision. Turn it over to them, they say, no, you're not ready for IOP, he needs other stuff. Great, so we didn't bring him in, right? So that's how that works. They're the gatekeepers. We just help try to meet them where they're at, get them in the door. Right? We need patients to come in.
And Lisa and I need to be on point with that when that happens because otherwise we find ourselves in a fiasco where next thing you know, Boston has a guy coming into IOP that drank the day before, or a female that's been struggling with benzos for a long time and needs like detox or residential. Like then, you know, that's definitely not good for their recovery.
To be able to get into IOP, they need to produce these checklists to be really good to go. So it works for when we're trying to get a patient from our PHP and step to the other level of care, but it also can be used as a tool to say, if you don't have a clean UA, you don't have a good transition plan, you don't have a stable living environment, you're not doing some of these healthy routines, you're not ready for IOP. You need a higher level of care. Does that make sense? So again, this is going to be a checkbox that we'll refine over the coming weeks with Lee and the clinical team. And once this is solved, the whole team will be trained on this to know how to communicate to the patient, especially case management, right, and the team members. And if we do this right, then it'll really remove a lot of these question marks on, I'm 2 weeks and I'm ready to go. Because as soon as we have someone say that, we'll look at the RTC one, and that says, okay, if you're ready to go to PHP, it means you've got your readiness for residential thing done, you've shown us what your goals are and they make sense. You've got a transitional plan, so we know what your PHP days are and what your treatment recommendations are, what time of day you're coming, you know, all of those things. You've had an assessment from a case manager to say you've got the life skills and the coping skills and those things, and life outside there is still balanced well enough and secure well enough. You've got a relapse prevention plan, or at least the clinician feels like you're not triggered too much and you've got some good skills there. Your sleep's on point, stable living environment, and you've created your schedule. So in PHP, so with like Allie, you know, if one of those gals comes see it in 5 to 6 days, and they're like, hey, getting ready to come out. I'm on day 12 or 11 or whatever. I'm ready to go. And you're like, have you done all, as the, check with the case manager or whatever, have they completed all of those things? No? I don't even want to talk about you transitioning out of residential until those are done. Then I'll talk about it. That doesn't mean I'm going to approve you to go out. Does that make sense? That's huge for clinicians to know. This is not, okay, you're done with check boxes? Okay, next level of care. No. This is the bare minimum. Then it's a conversation with the clinician to say, okay, here's some other things that I see. Hopefully that doesn't happen a lot, but we will have those, right? We will have patients that come in, I'm doing 2 weeks, and they are just disruptive, they're not committed, they don't really care about our lifestyle stuff, they don't care about the nutrition, they don't care about what they're doing, they have no real direction, they just need to do it for court. Nope, not happening. We're gonna refer you to that program. Don't mess up that. Don't mess with our mojo, right? Don't do that. We're good here. Does that make sense? So up here, right, we had a cafe. This is where we've got the basics. We say, okay, you got this insurance. Here's probably going to be your deductible, or here's what your room and board costs are, right? You agree to those things. Yes. Okay, let's proceed, right? We haven't actually signed the agreement yet. We just verbally know you've got insurance. You're comfortable with at least the minimum of here or a payment plan. And then we move to the next step to do the pre-screen application and get them cleared to come in. Then, before they actually come in, now the executive and financial team does that financial and then asks the insurance, hey, now because we've got some clinical recommendation, we've got a pre-screen, so we think they probably are going to need 30 days of residential, we're going to go tell the insurance, hey, we'd like approval on you paying for 30 days of residential. Does that make sense? So that's this step, is we complete an actual financial agreement, and then we do off. Family member calls. Joe is so sick. I have to get him into treatment right now. He is not well. He needs to get in there, right? Or, hey, Dimetri, I just got kicked out of my place. I have nowhere to go. I need help now. My withdrawals are kicking in. I'm freaking out. Please, please help me now. We're here. I need now. They don't have their insurance card with them right then, right? We haven't had time to do the pre-screen application because they need to come in an hour. Clinical clearance hasn't even happened yet, right? Because that mostly is crucial for coming into Dimetri, not to the detox. We haven't got that process. We don't really know how well off they're going to be. We haven't had a professional clinician, so that's a little scary, right? And they are higher than a kite, drunk. They don't even know what they're doing. How are we supposed to talk to them about a financial agreement? So what do? Well, we have some steps. So even though you're struggling, hurting, begging, and pleading, maybe you could die, we have steps. So we're going to take a couple days to go through this process. No, that's not our philosophy. We're people helping people. We take that risk. When I first started with Dimetri, Mike and Allie Keenan, they said industry standard is 3 to 5 days to get someone in. I'm like, holy shit. Like, I remember using, and when I wanted help, when I finally made up my mind, like, I need help, I want to get treatment. If I didn't act on that right then, what happens, Trevor, in about 2 hours from that point?
2 hours, 15 minutes.
Right? All of a sudden withdrawals stop kicking in. Oh, I am not going to treatment, I'm going to find my drug, right? So you don't have 3 days to get that done. So guess how fast we can get a patient in? 2 to 3 hours. So minimum, Mike and they were like, minimum 2 to 3 days. Screw that. We're here to help people. So 2 to 3 hours we can get in. People have died because Blue Cross Blue Shield, they won't let us get in network with them, but they discourage any of their patients to go out of network. So they say, just to make it harder on that facility, we're going to send your payments to the patient and make you collect it from them. Patient lives out of state, patient moves, address is different. Do you know how much money is out there? Over $100,000 to patients. Do you know how much better off we'd be with that? Really good. Cool. Okay, what's the next step?
Hello. Okay, he has on here BPS, it's biopsychosocial. We also call it a that one, right? Yeah, but what I'm going to point out is it may also be over here, so I'm not quite doing it yet. Biopsychosocial is also, we call it a comprehensive diagnostic exam. The reason it's called that is pretty soon we're going to be accredited. The Commission on Accreditation of Rehabilitative, they're going to ask me this one, CF again. Yeah, CARF. So in getting accredited, we need to meet certain standards. So the BPS, the old BPS doesn't fit all that, so we call it a CDA now. It's the same thing. If ever you hear CDA, CDA is a comprehensive diagnostic exam, same as a biopsychosocial. In a perfect, magical bubble world, that would happen right here. Doesn't always happen right there. We have to do it within 24 hours. This next time, not to jump ahead, is going to be intake. It has to happen either within 24 hours before or after there. We'd love to get it done before. It doesn't always happen, but it has to happen within 24 hours afterwards, within reason. If a client comes in on a Friday, most insurance companies are going to say, cool, we'll wait till Monday. But we got to get that in, especially, I mean, the number one thing for me, and I think, you know, Boston and Lisa can speak to this too, it's really getting to know the client. I've had other people do a BPS or a CDA for me and my client. I'm lost. When I get with them, like, it helps me get to know them. I need to really know what's going on in their world. So typically it takes about an hour. One of our interns did it the other day in 2.5 hours. And it was probably one of the most thorough CDAs I've ever seen. It was like kind of a model of how it should be done, because we're really looking at preliminary treatment planning, like what are our goals, what do we want to do with this client. So it's our first initial really getting to know them. It is a lot of dotting I's and crossing T's, but it's also gets really personal and trying to get to know the client. What do you want? What do you want out of treatment? Why are you here? What are your end goals? I mean, later you'll see we get into that master treatment planning, but that's kind of getting them in.
So we write in those two, what are the products of the BPS that we want there? On
Planning.
So we got medical necessity and treatment planning. So the medical necessity, again, like Lisa I think said earlier, it'd be really nice to have that 24 hours before they come so we can tell the insurance, hey, this is what we've seen, and because of those things and diagnoses, preliminary diagnoses, we think they need this much. And then that helps the insurance to say, yeah, that makes sense. I'll give you those days. And then it gives me peace of mind, like, yay, they're in there and they're actually we're gonna get paid for it. Instead of like 4 days later, it's like, they're not paying. Crap. You know, like, do we kick them out? Because that's what most treatment centers do. Your insurance isn't getting paid? Good luck. Not our philosophy. People helping people. Right? That makes sense? Or otherwise, because we only have this small gap insurance give us like 24 hours before, 24 hours after. So it's like, okay, let me plan to come because the doctor said it's going to be a 4-day detox. Then day 3 comes along, like with Ashley, she was feeling great the first 3 days, right? Then so the second day she's like, hey, I'm not going to take Librium, so I'll have my 24 hours off. I'm ready for residential on Monday. Most of the nurses and people are like, looks like it could work, you know? So we're all like kind of whispering around like, hey, Monday, it's probably Monday, you know, all this was probably Monday. So then they probably start hearing, hey, Ashley's coming Monday. I put a text out, here's kind of our, what do I say, anticipated or projected times for the patients to transition, and Monday's this, and Monday, you know. And then so they're like prepping for, and all of a sudden we find out, Mahler sees her, it's like, your anxiety scores are this, you're all over the place here, your scores of this, you need 2 more days. Everybody's like, wait, I thought she was coming now, and now I can't do a BPS because it's 2 days before, and you know, honestly, it screws it up. But that's just how it's gonna happen. It's based off of symptoms. And sometimes in the first 2 to 3 days, it's not that bad, and then all of a sudden the Suboxone withdrawal kicks in, and they start going crazy. She's naked, she's running around, she's like, I can't do this, I need to go, I want Suboxone, I don't want to do this, right? That's what happens. They get irrational, erratic, emotional, dysregulated, crazy. Their primal brain is in full blow saying, I'm gonna die. I can't do this. Run, fight or flight. Screw you, I wanna hit the door and run. I need a fix. Expect it. Calm down. I know this hurts. Let's call the nurse or let's talk to the clinician. Let's see what we can do to help support you. Worst case scenario, we almost kicked her out. Can't handle that. She needs us. She's crying out for help. She's freaking out. She's detoxing. Is kicking her out the answer? She is affecting the milieu. That's not good, right? She can't be around that milieu. So we do need to remove her from there. But where does she need to go? She needs to go detox. Full level of care, continue. We can go back, we can go forward, we can recommend, we can help them wherever they need to be. And we've got a checklist that says, this is the bare minimum. And then we use our intuition and our professional experience to then give another recommendation on top of that. All right? Okay, what's the next step?
Bring them in.
All these assessments and financials and everything's looking good, they're gonna fit good, clinicians are good with it, they've got some initial goals we feel good about. Let's bring them in. So who's in charge of that step?
I gave Eric the yellow marker.
House ops. House management ops. Okay, so Eric, nurse, these guys over here, these guys are trained, but primarily the nurse and the house manager are the ones that we want doing the intakes. Okay, to be the primary people. We do have others that have experience and have done them, so they're backups, which is great. So just your checklist, just the intake checklist part.
And then a giant portion of it.
Anybody?
Need to know documents, ROIs,
UA,
yeah, UA,
breathalyzer, driver's license, insurance card,
vitals, and
Take the picture.
take a picture,
inventory, personal items,
inventory,
physical search.
search, create the MAR sheets, right? There's about 14 probably steps in that intake checklist.
That's just for the intake checklist. It's not, you have to make sure they have a room, make sure they're bench clean, make sure they have
part of
all
it too.
that they need for you.
Right, so that portion is huge. We've calculated it takes about 2 hours to do an intake properly. Main ones are signed consent, so there's a packet they sign because we can't do anything until they agree that we can do something, right? We have one patient that didn't do that, right? And we just shot ourselves in the foot, okay? We did 3 different days. We had to pay our doctor to do the exam, our staff to do appointments. 3 days in, we go back and the nurse says, this patient is not going to do this. They won't sign it, right? They won't sign the agreement. We're like, okay, well, stop now and hopefully they don't sue us. You know, like, that's really what happens. So the signed consent form is critical, right? And that's all those signed forms. So you read those 2 products over there. The goals for that step is to make sure there's the right medication orders, right? So usually from detox to res, there's a MAR order and medication order, and hopefully one day Dr. Kamala will communicate very well to her or Dr. Blazer to make sure that that is all very cohesive. We're working on that. But there is a MAR that has no orders. She knows, and if there's any confusion, she will check with Dr. Blazer and make sure that's good. Okay? Make sense? And then also that step will have history and physical. So this is something that we haven't been doing very well and we need to do better, is that the nurse will, and or house manager, make sure we have the vitals, you know, those different things that we do for history and physical, and get the majority of that history and physical done on best notes. So then when Dr. Blazer sees them the next day, usually within 24 hours, but sometimes it takes a few days, then he completes the history and physical, signs it, submits it, and then we might actually get paid for it.
So the master treatment plan is the goals that we try to pull from the BPS or the CDA. But then we also formulate it with the client on what they want to work on. So it can be mental health goals, it could be substance abuse goals, and it should be things that they want to work on and then things that we can help them try to formulate too. And hopefully it can be things that it can be done while they're in residential. You know, it could be anything from, you know, wanting to like reunification with family, it can be internal motivation goals, external
Job, whatever.
yeah, job, anything. It's usually about 3 goals. That's just my personal what I do. Anything more than that, and then they have objectives and intervention. So it's like, what are they going to do to meet these goals, and what are we going to do as clinicians to help them get there.
Does that make sense? So we've got the goals, then the patient makes objectives, little worksheets, plans, activities, whatever that they're going to do to help meet that. And then intervention is, what are we doing? What modalities, CBT, EMDR, whatever, relapse prevention packets, what interventions are we going to use to help them meet those goals? I'm going to say one more thing about the treatment plans. Totally up to the clinician and the patient to do this. As a company, we'd really like to get better at making sure they've got mental, physical, social, and spiritual goals. That doesn't have to be in the master treatment plan. That can be case management. That can be just staff. Like, what are your goals in life? How can you do mental, physical, social, spiritual in your life? That could be the 7-day schedule. But those are the things. When Chance was with us, he was on point. He made sure they had a mental goal, a social goal, a spiritual goal, and a physical goal. That's helping them holistically, as a holistic program, meet holistic goals. However, clinicians may decide their mental health goals, if they don't do this, none of that's going to matter, right? If they can't do emotional regulation and they can't do their family, dynamic at home is terrible. If they can't do these things, don't matter over here, right? So that's why the clinician still has the overruling part of the master treatment plan. But again, 7-day schedule, maybe we work on that. That makes sense? Long-term and short-term goals. Does anybody know why and what's the difference?
Because these goals are exactly the same all through treatment or at all levels of care. No?
False.
Yes! Thank you. Someone disagree with me. False. These change. They're evolving, they're growing, they're changing. They come in and they might have a goal in communication, and then we find out they got anger issues or examinations, or it gets to another level of care. Their case management, their goal is now to find work and be financially responsible. It's always changing.
So I would be so happy. I don't even know. I can't even tell you how elated I would be if I heard our clinical team take one of these 2-week patients that says, I'm doing 2 weeks, and say, wait a minute, trauma at that point in time in your life? Or, wow, your mom gave you away? You got neglected? Have you processed that? Have you healed from that?
2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, you want to heal from that? We need to do this. I need to have at least this many sessions probably on average. I need to do this. We need 40 days for you to have the best chance for success long term. Do you want to come back in 2 months and do this again? Pay that, leave your family again, do all that again? No, let's do this right this time. And then they come back to us and be like, they get it. We just committed them to 40 days. Yeah!
Victory!
Woo! Orientation. I'll let you explain that, but again, I'll say this is something we have not done super well.
Yeah, so this is something that me, Felicia, and Dennis have been talking about a lot recently, of ways to make this more organized. The case management time from 1 to 3 is so hectic and crazy. So how case management is looking now is me and Felicia go to detox first. The clients are still in there, and we do a case management assessment to see what case management needs they have that we can help them with, either in detox, residential, IOP. And then also the readiness for residential paper, which I'm just learning about today. Should we give that paper to you guys in the treatment meeting, or?
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's a perfect time to do that.
Okay, and then we can discuss it there.
I mean, realistically, the day you get it, and they're planning on, because usually you get that, if we're doing the job right at their detox, they'll have that form completed before they leave. And we'll do the same thing as far as a discharge readiness to say, have you done your readiness for residential? Are you, symptom-free and off of controlled substances? Are you, check those boxes, right? Which is on that form right here. So for detox, readiness for residential has to be completed. You have to have a plan, right? A clinician or someone has said, we recommend this. There's a treatment plan. That's a goal to get to the next level. We have to know. And then the case management assessment is done as well, hopefully. It's not, we know that's hard sometimes to do that. But at least the readiness for residential.
Yeah.
And then, so that's the day before. So then we can go take it to the clinicians and say, look, this patient has these goals. They're ready to come on residential. Put it on your radar that they're coming soon. It might not be tomorrow, but it's soon. Okay? Be ready. So the day you get them done, take it.
We're going to be assigned clients, and each Monday we're going to have them write out a weekly schedule of what case management goals they have for that week and which day they're going to do what the steps are, so that we can help keep them on track a little bit more.
Perfect.
And it's frontal lobe rehabilitation to
Yeah.
the schedule.
Yep, they're planning and they're thinking frontal lobe. So where are we putting that information? So, because we've been wanting to have case managers have assigned patients since day one. It is not easy because guess what happens when someone's out of town or goes on vacation? Oh, you just don't do case management anymore until they get back. This is what blew my mind a few months ago. Okay, I had somebody, another treatment center and owner, and a business strategist, and he says, every member of the team, from top to bottom, should not have a conversation with the patient unless they know what their goals are. It's kind of mind-blowing, right? It sounds kind of hard, but it's right. You know, because if you know what their goals are, every conversation you have should be kind of leading towards, okay, what are you doing to help meet that goal? What are you working on for that goal? What can you do? Is there something you can schedule? Is there something you can do? Is there something a journal you can write? Is there, a family member you need to, work out with? Talk to your clinician about this. Maybe talk about that, right? How good would we be if every person knew that, right? It'd be really cool if even me, right? If I'm coming in there to the facility and I'm doing my group, and I've been able to review on case management everybody's goals, and I come in, cool, doing my group, and it's like, hey, I heard you're trying to work on your relationship issue. Here's something that might be helpful for that if you're doing this and this and this, right? You keep relapsing, and your goal is to, have a relapse prevention plan. Have you worked on that? Whatever, right? Does that make sense?
In my mind, what I'm doing for patients, for you, is I'm accelerating healing for patients. I'm giving them the best opportunity to feel better faster. That's what I think I'm doing. So 80% plant-based, 20% animal. That's in the literature. Lots of variety, lots of anti-inflammatory foods, dairy-free, all that good stuff.
Why do we do anti-inflammatory?
Inflammation is a part of everything.
For example?
Disease, mental health, anxiety,
Depression. What happens in the gut with plant-based diet?
Feeds the good bacteria.
Which is in a whole?
I'm trying to think where you're going with this. It's a healthy microbiome. Yeah.
What does a healthy microbiome do? Feeds the brain. Is it?
Feeds everything.
Who doesn't know about the brain-gut axis? It's fine, raise your hand. Don't be shy.
And it's the reason why it's part of, so there's a 5-week curriculum that I work through with patients, and that's why we take a week out and talk about gut health. It's that important.
It's huge. There is an axis, a communication between the brain and the gut. If your gut is unhealthy and inflamed, your brain is unhealthy and inflamed. And inflammation creates dementia, it's the center of most disease. Cancers are a big part of inflammation. They're fed in inflammation. It's huge for people's
Cancer,
health.
heart disease, diabetes, I can't think of one that's not affected.
There is a dang good possibility that our lifestyle and nutrition healed Tyson's polyps that were cancerous. Are you freaking serious? What other treatment center does that? Anybody want to tell me one? I don't know of any.
30 days.
In 22 days or whatever it was at that point.
There's other examples too.
There's lots of examples that have, blood pressure is normalized. If they went and did a heart scan on their atherosclerosis stuff, that would be healed up, right? Aches and pains. People said without the dairy, this guy came in and he thought it was all bull crap. You're taking out dairy, it isn't dairy. Dairy's good for me, it's my calcium, it's good for my bones, right? We remove all that stuff, and 5 days later, his blood pressure normalized. He's like, I didn't have to roll over every 30 minutes because my hips were achy. My aches and pains are going away. I can actually sleep better. What do you think that does for his mental health? You're sleeping better, right? Right? And then we start seeing, we get doctors and high-level clinicians all saying this is awesome. We knew we had something good, right? Cool. So that obviously is a very important part. We literally had people in Hawaii call us several months ago. They said, I've heard about your nutritional program. I want to come. That's pretty cool. our word of our nutrition has traveled everywhere. We've got some from Chicago that have called about it, New Jersey that have called about it, Hawaii that have called about it, California and Arizona that have called about it, Denver has called about it, Wyoming that have called about it. It's pretty cool. And we were good. They just kicked ass and made us better. Yeah. Right? Okay. And that's what makes us different, not only in that area, but a lot of different areas. But nutrition is huge, that we're able to take them to the store. I mean, when families hear that, we teach them how to grocery shop. And my goal, too, that we used to do better, I think, and I would like us to try to do if we can, if we have time. I know the two-week ones, sometimes we can't give them everything. That's another tool that case managers can motivate with. If you stay a little longer, we can show you how to get on the app and order your groceries. Life hack, right? Let's do that before you leave. The other part of the Nourish part is the frontal lobe rehab. Not only the scheduling and planning and processing and goals, all do that. The essential fatty acids, right? The omegas, the neuroaminos and the amino acids all are crucial for that part. Okay, so DTR lifestyle, that is house ops, they're the main ones. They're going to make sure that we've got the programming, we've got the consistency, we've got, making sure the yoga's happening, this is happening, and that's healthy habits and routines, stay consistent. We throw in some different things, right? We get on some healthy habits and routines, and through that, because we've removed addictive chemicals and unhealthy lifestyles, now their amygdala is literally shrinks. You guys seen brain scans? Freaking amazing. Like, we literally can shrink the power of the amygdala so it's not so driving and powerful, right? Loved ones go to their families, and the family loved ones come to their loved ones. They're like, do you just not love us enough to stop? What is wrong with you? Like, I can stop, why can't you stop? Because their amygdala is swollen, and that's the disease part. It literally takes over the frontal lobe's ability to make decisions. So by removing chemicals that are addictive, by giving brain foods here and activating this, now they can pause, think about the consequences, plan ahead, and do all those things, right? Critical. So those are the goals. Healthy habits and routines, impulse control, frontal lobe. Thank you, Eric. Okay, next one, medical management. This one's quick and easy as well. We want to make sure that somewhere in the middle, right? So the meds at the beginning, the MARS, right? We know what they're starting with. We know they shouldn't have controlled substances for more than 72 hours. I'm sure everybody heard that. If you see meds, there are controlled substances for more than 72 hours, alert, alert, alert. Okay? That's not what we do, and it's not what our DEA license allows us to do. So we try not to do that. Okay, so with that, we know there's not only a check in the middle on med management with Dr. Blazer's reviews and the nurse checking that consistently, but also we want to make sure we're tapering them appropriately, right? What's the point of us doing this if they stay on gabapentin and all these meds for the whole time? Still somewhat addictive. I still see patients way more than I'd like to in my groups that are just nodding like that, right? We got to be watching that. Give feedback. Staff, if you see patients nodding off, let the staff know what's going on. Is it sleep issues or is it a med issue? Right? Something's going on to make you nod off in the middle of the day. Your adrenal system is not right. Okay? So stable, safe progress, and medical necessity as well. If she puts a note in and we do a UR and it says, patient is still doing XYZ with the meds, still tapering this way, they're still having a little bit of withdrawal from that because we're still working with that. And then, the clinicians put in the behavioral stuff and the insurance says, all right, I'll give you 5 more days.
Two parts of this is what our approaches to therapy, depending on what works for them. It might be, we might do some CBT, might do some DBT, client-centered approach, solution-focused approach, like whatever we see what works best for them. What works for one doesn't work for the other. And another crucial part of that is are they meeting their goals? Like, I don't know, we're a collaborative team. I want to meet with them and say, do you feel like your work you're doing with Felicia and Olivia, you're meeting your case management goals? Are you closer to getting security when you leave? Are you, when you work with Lisa, are you meeting these treatment goals that you made way up here? So not only is it the approaches, but it's meeting their goals.
So the main things we have on here, they're mentally healthy. The hell does that mean? That's for them to decide, right? they're mentally healthy. They've got their processing, their thinking errors, their cognitive distortions, right? They've got a healthy thinking process that leads to a decent
Healthier.
healthier. They're trying to make it better, catch those bad triggers, those self-hate statements, and the black and white stuff, and all that stuff. Emotional regulation is another one. Okay, if the clinician doing therapy with them and they see them, that's why feedback from staff is huge. Like, hey, they just slammed the door so hard yesterday they freaked out. That's important for them to know, right? Put that in Yammer, put it in Best Notes, put it in Best Notes, put it in Yammer, and let them know so they can talk to them about, hey, what happened?
From all people on the team too. For example, if I'm doing a shift change call in the morning and I'm hearing, hey, client's not up and moving, I might think, oh, they don't want this or not, committed to treatment. Where if I hear from the night staff and they're like, yeah, they were up all night, they were tearful, they were crying, that's helpful.
Yeah.
Helps to be able to figure out whether
Be more compassionate at that point. It's not just because they don't care, it's because they care so much, they're trying and working so hard. We might give them an extra hour of sleep or something. We'll work with them. And then the other part of it, like you said, is the meet treatment goals. Experiential stuff, right? We want the patients to have new hobbies. Because if they don't have anything else to do, what have they been using? I'd say 80% of the time when a client comes in, what do you do for fun? Get high?
used to do for fun.
I don't know. I haven't. What did you used to do? I used to go fishing. I used to do this. When was the last time we did that? 5 years, maybe?
When I was
Why?
10.
Yeah, why? Because I've been getting high. I've been drinking. I can't do the things I love to do anymore. That makes sense, right? They need to have healthy passions and healthy hobbies to do, and then help make sure that they're on their 7-week schedule. If they got hobbies, schedule it. If they really like camping, and they really like fishing, and they really like nature walks, and they really like time with family, and they really like this, it lights their fire. Schedule it. Not only is it really good for their recovery, but then they appreciate it while they're there. Like, they care, they listen. Oh, my words matter. I'm heard, right? Next one, transition plan. Case management. Now with this, clinical is very tight-knit with case management. They really are one team. But we just separated them because case management has some very specific duties that they are responsible for. If it does not happen, we're going to them and say, what the heck? Why isn't the transition plan done? And then they'll go, oh, crap. Then they'll go to the clinician and say, clinician, help me. Why don't we know what we're doing here? What are we doing with the client? What's the plan? What do you recommend? And then they go back to the client and say, clinician recommends this, this, and this. Are you good with this? No? Okay, well, we need to tell the clinician this is going to be your plan and make them approve that. And then they say, okay, we're only doing 2 weeks. All right, well, we'll meet them where they're at. We feel like they're still safe enough to go to that level of care, and we'll support that even though we recommend this. And then again, if they fail, they trust us more. That's okay. Right? Make sense? At that point, when we're doing a transition plan, she's got to check in before they go from residential to outpatient. We better make sure, hey, remember we talked about this financial plan? Remember we talked about you're going to do a payment plan? Let's make sure you're set up. Oh, well, I thought I could do $200 a month on this, but I looked at my finances and did a budget with my team, case management or whatever. I can really only be like $100. Is that okay? We're very easy to work with. I don't care if it's $50 a month. I just want you to contribute to this, to feel good about it. Yeah, and then also just have a plan so that we can stay in business and keep going. Most of the time, the detox and residential are the ones who really do a lot of financials. Insurance stuff typically covers the outpatient stuff. It's just the sober livings that maybe there's some other financial stuff that we need to talk about. Survey. This is something that we do not do well at all, but we're trying to do better. We all have a lot to do, but this is something with CARF that will be required. And for us to be a better facility and take better care of the patients, we need good feedback. We need to know what we're doing well and we're not doing well. Survey. So when is this survey supposed to happen? Did someone say after they leave? Oh, thank goodness. When does this happen? Ideally, right after their transition ceremony. Why? It feels so good. It's true. It's absolutely true. They got all this positive feedback. They just accomplished. They got dopamine. They're like, this playtime tree saved my life. I'm doing something. Right? Survey is going to be good. But still, they're going to be honest, and we sit down and talk to them, like, what was the worst thing about it, or whatever, and they're like, oh, this sucked, whatever, and then we can make some tweaks maybe to the program, make it better. Ops is going to be huge in that process with admissions, because we're not always there. We're trying to get better at being notified when the transition ceremony happens. That's been the biggest problem for us, to be able to be there to do that, because we want that survey, but we also want a Google review. If they're doing good and they feel good, give us a good review. Again, one big problem in our facility is available space and rooms, right, for clinicians to do their job. So hopefully, in an ideal world, we have the executive office to do their discharge checklist. When they actually have to come in with the house ops or the nurse and do their discharge checklist, they're already one-on-one doing the checklist, and then hopefully we have an iPad that we can just hand them and say, hey, can you do this quick survey, right? And if they're feeling really good, hopefully admissions team or ops can tag team that and say, would you mind leaving us a review? You know, here's your phone as you discharge. Can you go on Google and give us a review? Not required, but we would really appreciate it. One of the most important pieces that I'm really disappointed that our clinical team isn't all here to hear, but that's okay, they got us talking hopefully now. What's the next step? Transition and discharge, right? The very last step of inside the home. So we have two people. House ops, medical, right? You guys both want to come up here and write that up together? Such an important piece that we have two departments that are actually going to be helping head this up, because there's a lot to do in intake and discharge. Because what happens on an AMA or an ACA, someone decides to leave and we need to do a discharge. They're not mentally well, they're unstable, and we decide that we're going to give them all of their meds, all their gabapentin, all the things that they can do to hurt themselves, and they're not mentally well. Problematic. So we need the medical team to look at that and ask the doctor, hey, what do you want to discharge them? They're not doing well. Don't discharge meds. Don't do it. Give them anything they can't hurt themselves with. They need a mood stabilizer because they've got that issue. Yes, make sure they've got that, right? Make sure they have the things that they need to stabilize themselves but not hurt themselves, right? But when they actually do a successful discharge, make sure we've got all our ducks in a row, I's dotted, T's crossed, things are good to go, right? So what's the point of alumni? Right? It says it right on here. Support, connection, fun. And so I asked our team, I said, every time you go to a facility, this is in the first 6 months she was working with us, I said, I want you to ask that facility and that owner or that marketing director or that whoever you meet with, what do you feel and what have you found to be the most important part for success? Guess what was our number one answer? Strong alumni. Strong alumni. It is critical, because if you cannot have fun while you're sober, what's the point? If you can't connect with people that are like-minded to feel like you have social connections, you can actually be related, know how it feels, and you get the oxytocin from connections, helps with reward deficiencies. You have fun, adrenaline helps with reward deficiencies. You don't need the chemicals anymore, right? And, careful again last night, but when you have that support group and someone shows up who's not doing well, guess what happens? Hey, how you doing? You look like you're doing too well. What do you need? When the clinician might pull them aside, hey, what's going on? Let's get you back in. Let's get you some detox. It's okay. Hop back on the horse. Experience, strength, and hope. It is possible.
This is everything. This is really the ultimate goal. And building a strong alumni that gives back and they're able to learn from each other and grow from it. It's especially when you get referrals from alumni, where those are the people that are setting the line saying, like, this is, to me, probably the most important part of the whole process.
Yep, and the most important part again is success rates, right? 7% success rate to stay sober for 1 year, right? 10 times more likely to have long-term success if we can get through 1 year. So, what do you think Diamond Tree did with that data? Created a full continuum for 1 year. Guess what we're not doing well enough as a team? Educating, motivating, and inspiring them to do 1 year. We all do our own little part. And hope that, yeah, maybe they'll get to the next level. Then it's someone else's problem or whatever, right? So someone else has this to do, and hopefully they go here. Well, they're not going to our IOP, so whatever. Hopefully they get somewhere. No, I don't care where they're going, our program or not. When they leave, we have recommended 1 year. Wherever they're going, stay connected, stay accountable, and stay supported for 1 year, because you have a 10 times better chance for success. Who can stay busy enough, long enough to stay sober? Trevor knows, shaking his head. It don't work. Yep. They're avoiding their problems because they don't know how to sit in their own shit. So it's tough. So we need to educate them while they're there. Make sure they know. Med management piece. 10 days in, like, hey, you know what? Like, you're still on this and this medication. Like, if you really want the best chance for frontal lobe rehabilitation and healthy new habits and get off of all chemical dependencies, you really should probably think about staying 2 more weeks. I'm so excited to announce it's official. Blazer has accepted our offer, and he will now be doing med management for IOP as well in the outpatient levels of care. So with Vi and probably one other nurse, we're still deciding on the other nurse, but they will be handling the med management even for IOP. So they will be giving the IOP patients a call 1 time a month, check in, how are your meds doing? How are your symptoms? Do you need to change? Do you need to switch? Are you running out? Do you need an appointment? Do you need a refill? Because I bet 40 to 50% of our relapses have been, I ran out of meds, I didn't make an appointment, or the doctor, couldn't see me for 2 weeks because they didn't have a primary care, or they went to a doctor who prescribed them controlled substances, or something like that, right? Just not controlled substances, but we will manage their meds. It still is medication-assisted treatment. Another area that will be a lot better is with the Vivitrol. That's something with every single opioid-addicted patient, we will recommend Vivitrol. If there's a patient that says they don't want the Vivitrol shot, red flag. Why not? There's no reason not to. It removes the daily Suboxone, the daily naloxone, the daily pill, the daily need to take something. They get a shot. It's good for 20 to 30 days. They don't have to take anything. Quiets the voice. I can't get high. What's the point? Not even gonna look for it. I don't even think about it. I might get triggered, but it's phenomenal. It's crucial that we do that more often. It helps those patients have more time, and you can do that for 1 year. In my opinion, we should be giving Vivitrol shots every month for 1 year. We just wanted the team to have some information and start really thinking about what we need to do as departments to reach our goals. But the goal is, as a healthy, successful company, we have company goals, right? We know what the company wants to do. We want a healthy culture of our staff. We want a helpful team. We want an honest team. We want happy patients. We want 1 year cohesive continuum, right? That 1 year cohesive continuum is a huge one, so we'll probably focus on that one and one other one. So we'll have like 2 main company goals, okay? So for example, if we have a 1 year continuum as a goal up here at the top, right? And we'll just take finance. We'll take the finance department just for an example. What do we think one key performance indicator would be, something we can report and track that would help us know that we're doing well towards a 1 year continuum? That we have financial agreements that support a 1 year agreement. You know how helpful it's been since we've had the detox. When someone comes in, they have a $10,000 deductible. When we didn't have the detox, trying to convince someone to pay $10,000 for residential is extremely difficult, because guess how many treatment centers are gonna either write that off or discount 50+%? Most of them. Or they're in network, and so it's only $5,000, so they're gonna go there instead. With the detox, because it's a higher billable rate, they come in and we can say, for $10,000, you're gonna get detox, residential, PHP, IOP, and GOP for 1 year for $10,000. So 30 days, maybe some of this, for $10,000 or all of it. You know how much easier that is? especially because they're in crisis, they need it really bad here. Here they're like, kind of need it, not $10,000 worth need it, right? So it's huge, it helps us. So if we're able to financially say, this is what we're gonna do, that supports a 1-year continuum. That's something we can report on here. How many patients had a 1-year continuum financial agreement? So again, for example, let's say clinical, okay? Clinical, they might have a goal of having transitional treatment plans filled out for every patient before they leave. So they could put on there a number for a KPI that they report up here to the company directors and say, hey, out of the 15 patients this month, 13 of them had a transitional plan before they left that level of care. That's good information, right? And their goal is 100%. So it's like, hey, we've got some room for improvement. And then what's going to happen the next month when they report their KPI, their key performance indicator, like 15 out of 15 patients had it done. Woo! Victory. Because guess what that usually means? The patient has better success. They're more prepared for the next step. And we're going to continue to get paid at all levels of care, and we're a healthier, more successful company. Then, let's say we take the clinical team down, and readiness could be one too. We're just throwing some ideas out there. They come down to their team members, maybe it's case managers down here, therapists down here at the bottom, team members underneath the clinical team. And they have their own little goals, right? So we can say the therapist might have a goal to say, I'm going to make sure that every patient has a master treatment plan done, right? So now, Lee, how nice, Lee, would it be if you came into your treatment team meeting or once a month review with your team and you found out, okay, this therapist, out of your clients or whatever we're tracking, they had 6 out of 8 of their clients had a master treatment plan done. And this clinician had 2 out of 8 clients master treatment plan done. You get that data reported to you. But if you don't know, you can't fix it. So it's super important. Does that make sense? So over the coming days, weeks, months, we'll get this hopefully squared away where we can do some really good things with this, and it'll make us a lot healthier as an organization. Who knows? Who to go to if you have a problem? Everybody knows. It's okay if you don't. Ask now. This is one of the biggest purposes of this meeting. Good. Because again, for the first year of our existence, there was a lot of confusion with that. Because we're doing things that others aren't. A lot of programs don't have this team, right? Sometimes they don't have this team. And so when you look at someone else's organization, you go to a company that's done treatment before, and they're like, you're supposed to have this position, this position. It's like, well, we have one of these. And we don't have a program director, but we have this. And, we're trying to figure it out. How does a company like ours that's never existed before have an organizational structure that has cohesiveness and clear communication lines? We're still working on it. We're still trying to get better. So please be patient with us. So I liked Lee the other day. We had a big directors meeting. And he's like, I don't like how the insurance says step down. Like, they're stepping up. They've created a new foundation. Step up. Step up. So we created this. Okay? So to get from detox to create this foundation to be able to get to the next level of care, it says how many days they might be in there. Typically it's between 2 and 10 days. They need to be 24 hours off minimally of their controlled substances. That's a goal. Their CWAS scores and their nurse assessments below 2. We could tweak that. We'll talk to the team and make sure that's the appropriate number. But a decent score there where that means their symptoms are stable. They're sleeping decent, about 5+ hours.
I'll never get out of detox.
A lot of us will struggle, right? But this is the foundation that's ideal for them to step to the next level, right? They got their readiness for residential document completed. Ideally, they have their BPS done, right? And again, some of these, we'll work with them and we can step them a little bit early, but this is the ideal goal. They've done their case management assessment, and they've got their treatment transition plan established, meaning from detox, Dr. Kamalu and the nurses have created a discharge plan that says, patients committed to 2 weeks, we recommend this and this. Patients, just recently off these meds, still will need some med management for a few days PRN, feel stable enough to go here, planning on 30 days, whatever, right? We need to be way better at that at the detox level. Way better. We are really subpar on that. Okay, so the next one, they're in residential now. What they need is a foundation in residential to feel like they're pretty stable and good for going there, ideally. They've got their treatment goals and they've got sufficient progress. That's a subjective thing, right? Clinicians, they get a lot of decision making there. Sufficient, what does that mean? Whatever they think it means. Progress towards those goals, they feel like they've got enough there, they can sign off on that. They've got their recipe for success card. I hope to the heavens above everybody knows what this recipe for success card is. Okay, who feels like they have a good enough idea of how to explain it?
I've heard about it, but I don't know.
I'll do it, lieu of time. So, 3x5 card, okay? It has mental, physical, and on the other side, social, spiritual, and they all have their own little section. The mental side, they're saying, I am mentally healthy when I do these things. And they have a list of at least 3 things, hopefully more, that they need to do. Yoga, read, meditate, whatever, and have like daily, weekly, whatever it is for them that they've done before, or a diamond tree to say they feel mentally well when they do these things consistently. Then they have life hacks at the bottom of that. In a crunch, if I struggle with anxiety or depression, I know I have a coping skill right there written down, tried and true. That make sense? Physical one. I am physically healthy when I do these things consistently. Go to the gym 5 days a week, do yoga 3 times a week, eat and meal prep, when I eat whole food, whatever it is that keeps them physically healthy. And then some life hacks, like, make sure you do an online grocery order to avoid smelling the donuts in the store. Whatever it is, have some hacks down there. For me, I'll tell them sometimes we do this together. So a lot of times I do this in the balance group. I'll say, healthy fast food options nearby. Because realistically, most of us don't have time to meal prep a really healthy meal every day of the week. So when we're in a time crunch and we need to grab some lunch really quick, what do we have? Right? We do Rumby's or Costa Vida or some of these places that have decent options, and we have their number written down or something, so we can just call them. On the way, pre-order, right? That's fast food because you can literally go grab it. It takes as much time as sitting in McDonald's park, traffic. Right? So you have some life hacks there that help you be more successful. Same thing with social, right? I'm socially healthy when I'm doing 12-step groups, when I'm doing this, when I'm calling my family once a week, when I'm connecting with a loved one. And then social hacks could be places to go, right? People to call. I always want to make sure they have a phone number of someone to call, their sponsor, their therapist, their friend, family member that's supportive. And so in a time crunch or a bad situation, they feel distant, isolated, lonely, those things, they know who they can call. And then the spiritual one, what do you do that I'm spiritually healthy when I'm doing that? When I have gratitude lists every morning, when I'm praying every day, when I'm meditating, when I'm connecting into a larger purpose, when I'm facilitating this charity, when I'm a part of this charity, when I'm at work at Diamond Tree, whatever it is, right? All those things are crucial. Does that make sense? Now, what's the most important part of making the recipe for success card successful, which I feel like we're at a 5% success rate on doing it?
Accountability.
The accountability, what does that look like for this? Boom. The goal of the card, because writing on the card, that's just like every other treatment center that does a life skills class. We'll talk about it. We're not going to do anything about it. No real life practical application and accountability of it. That doesn't work. That's the revolving door of residential treatment. Let's do something different. So what we do is we take that card, we want to make a copy, case management. This is really the crucial part for them. We copy 3 of them minimally, and give it to 3 people who care about your well-being. Therapist, significant others or spouse is kind of difficult. That is so crucial because I'll tell you what happens. And I've asked every single client that's relapsed that I've talked to, did you have your recipe for success card? Did you use it? Guess what every person that relapses said? I'm telling you, it is a huge, huge part of their success. Because what happens at the Sober Living, I love it. They all have it up on this bulletin board in the living room, right? And so when they're talking and when we're meeting, right, we've had a few weeks where we haven't been able to meet, but when we are, and I ask them to make sure they're doing it every Sunday, they sit down and we talk about it. Shane, what about your stuff here? Have you been doing these things for your mental health? Oh crap, I haven't done that one for a while. Okay, right. And then the other thing that happens when your family member knows they've got that card, and they look at it and they see you're struggling, right? They care, so they're like, something's off. they're not doing as well as they were 2 months ago. And so they can take that and be like, hey honey, when's the last time you did yoga? You said that was really important for your health, your mental health and your physical health. You know, hey, when's the last time you went fishing? You said that was really good for you and you needed to be doing it. And they're like, oh man, I haven't done those things, you're right. Right? Holds them accountable, reminds them, and gets them back on track. It's huge, 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 huge. Of that, the 1 week schedule, we talked about how crucial that is and making sure you critique that and look for balance, look for realistic expectations, make sure their treatment time scheduled in it. Is that something we do? I hope so. Like in that 1 week plan,
Yeah,
it sure as heck better have something in there that says treatment from this time to this time. Relapse prevention plan, the packet, transition treatment plan, again, that document, making sure that's filled out appropriately and ahead of time, right? Lee, when do you want that transition treatment plan before they transition? How early? A week?
That'd be great.
Yeah, a week would be the ideal. How often do you think we've done that?
20% of the time.
Yeah. If this part is not ready, you're not ready. That transition treatment plan is so important. Because if they don't know what they're doing and we don't know what they're doing, they're going to struggle, for sure. And then I'll tell you what happens then. Then all of a sudden they show up for day treatment at a time and we're not prepared for them because we all didn't know what they were doing. So now the kitchen doesn't know they need food, right? And people don't know when they come to the door, like, wait, what are you here for? What? Why? Wait, we only had 5 tickets for this thing that we're going to do. Now we need to sit, there's so many things that are affected by us knowing that it's up and posted in Yammer, right? We're taking a picture or something and putting that in Yammer. Where are we putting that? In their case management. So if anybody wants to know what their transition plan is, go to the case management section of the Yammer, type in their name, look at that document. We want our clinicians to also be able to do some case management, right? We want them to also work and say, hey, what about that job? What about that housing? What about this? You're not ready. Also supporting our case managers and saying, yeah, the case manager's telling me that you don't have this and this done. Like, I'm not signing off on you leaving tomorrow or next week if you don't have those things done. Lee did a phenomenal job with Caden with that, right? Caden came in and says, hey, I'm doing the 2 week thing, whatever. He's like, and then he was like a week away and Caden's like, so am I leaving next week? Or whatever it was, right? Something like that. And then Lee's like, well, you haven't done this. I don't see this. There's not a transition plan. You don't have this. Go get those things done and then we'll talk about it. Okay, and then stable living environment. So again, case management, they're like, hey, the only place you have to go is with your ex and they're smoking heroin and meth? Nope, not ready to go. Sober living says you can't get in for another week. You better be staying here another week then. What are you gonna do for that week? Couch surf? Not cool. You're not ready, right? They've got a job or at least some sort of progress towards a job, some interviews, something that says like you got, or service, like they're financially stable enough, like you've got structure, those types of things. If you don't have that, probably not ready. Your schedule, and establish healthy lifestyle. That's a big one too. It's somewhat subjective, but again, these 2 weekers. Another huge part, when you see this and you're asking them, because the checklist is a lot easier to see these things. You see this and you're like, are you in the habit of waking up at this time to be successful? Are you in the habit of doing something healthy for your mental, physical, social, spiritual health? Do you have healthy habits? Have you watched them as a team model doing this healthy routine and they're bought into it? And then their transition plan and their 7-week schedule shows you that they know how to have a healthy routine. They're into it. I love hearing patients say, I just wake up at 6:45 now. I don't even have to use an alarm. My body just wakes up, it's ready for yoga. I'm like, that's a habit. You don't even have to think about doing something healthy. So again, reiterating, that's the basics of being able to go to the next level of care. But what can trump that every time? Clinical recommendation, emotional dysregulation, familial issues, whatever they see, because they are professionals and trained to do that, they say, yes, you've checked all the boxes, so I will talk to you about it. Until then, I'm not even going to talk to you about transitioning. You're not ready, right? I mean, to a certain degree, we're not talking about it. But they'll make their recommendation and they can push that out. That makes sense? And that's one that, again, our team now, our PHP program is going to continue to improve. Lee is working on it. We are working on it to make sure our PHP program can be 7 days a week. Because that is one of the scariest things for us too. When someone leaves on a Friday and they don't have PHP until Monday, that's a scary couple days. If they have a really good solid schedule planned, they might do okay with that structure, but if not, maybe not. So coming in for a check-in for that support and accountability can be very helpful. So we want to make sure our clinicians have that option. The insurance allows it, we just need our program to support it. PHP, they're showing that they can have a consistent, balanced, structured schedule. That's the most important thing in PHP, in my opinion, is that they meet with the case manager once a week. They meet with the case manager and say, okay, what's your week look like next week? Do you have your schedule for next week? Let's look at it. Do you have a solid, structured schedule for next week? If they cannot model that, they should not go to IOP, in my opinion. They need to show that they know how to schedule a healthy schedule. If they cannot show you they know how to do that, they should not go to IOP, in my opinion. Again, we'll tell them that, recommend that. If they decide to go there and won't hurt the group, we'll let them see, and if they fail, they'll trust us more, right? So case management. One of our most important goals of case management is the path that we create, the structure that we create. So the goal really is to help the patient understand, this is just be a little drawing, right? So we've got this path that we've created, we'll put it to be a road, right? Road to recovery type of thing. And, we'll think a happy push means, therapy, whatever it is, we create this path, right? And we'll say that this little flower, whatever, is like their healthy plant, nutrition stuff. Dynasty creates that for them. We'll say that whatever it is, solid rock means they're getting exercise and strength training or whatever, some fitness stuff. Anyways, we create this path. This is this pretty healthy, structured lifestyle, right? Supportive, connected, healthy, consistent, routine. All these things are good in a healthy, stable environment. Some people, they look at the outside, they're leaving next week. What do they see on the outside? Cliff. Tyson Steed was the exact example of what that is. And they self-sabotage. They get so scared of that step because they don't have a job. They don't have financial support. They don't have food. They don't have, all these things. So they're looking at it as scared as can be. So what does that do? They start panicking. They get either fight or flight. They start to self-sabotage, all these things. So as case management, we can say, okay, on the outside now, we see what Diamondtree's done. How can we create a similar structure at home? We just taught you how to order online, how much you get healthy food, and you've got food sales. You should be good there. You still use our fitness gym pass and PHP. Or you have a gym pass, or you do yoga every day. You scheduled that, you got that still going on, right? You've got some supportive connections, something there, right? You've got family support, you've got AA groups, you've got connections, social connections, right? All you're doing gratitude journal, heck that is, but it's a gratitude journal, right? So they've got some good mindfulness activities, right? So now at home, you've seen their schedule, it's like, look, you've got a similar path at home, similar structure for success. Awesome, and then they feel so much better than I'm ready. I feel so much more prepared. So PHP is checking on that path. Do they still have that path? Right? Make sense? And then they've got a transition treatment plan. How often are we doing a transition treatment plan for someone from PHP to IOP? Yeah, so if we get a treatment recommendation when they leave residential that says 2 weeks of PHP and then 3 months of IOP, that's okay. It means we got it. So we're not doing that bad.
But a transitional plan at the end of PHP going to IOP, none.
Because I do still think we should review that plan. At the end of PHP, we should say, okay, the plan was now to go to 3 months IOP. Are we still good? You just got a new job. You're planning to do this. It's then, uh-oh. Right? And then they get out and they've told the case manager that they have a job and they switch that and all of a sudden they don't show up to IOP and clinicians are like, why are you there? And the case manager's like, oh, they said they were getting a new job that was doing it this time so they can only come Monday and Wednesday. Well, where's that documented? That means we have to go back in, print that transition document out, modify it, delete the old one, scan the new one in. Now they go to IOP. They're consistent with treatment activities. This is, again, what they have to do to be able to say they're good for GOP. They're consistent with treatment and activities. They maintain 3 months of sobriety. Continue contributing members of the group, which means they're giving feedback and participating, and then they've led at least a group. They've modeled that they can be emotionally regulatory, and they're actively using their recovery skills in daily activities. Hell yeah. It's okay, we get triggered. You use your recovery skills and your coping skills, still on track. Now they're feeling like, okay, my goals are being addressed. I'm progressing and I'm working on my goals. There's a reason I'm in treatment still, right? Same thing with residential. I've seen this so many times and it's so frustrating because the patients are like, I'm ready to go. And they end up leaving at day 12 because they're like, I'm done. I came here to get off drugs, I'm off drugs. And if the clinician is not saying, hey, remember this goal? Let's work on this. And they feel like, oh yeah, still have things to work on. There's reasons to be here. And remind them about the habits. All of them that want to leave early, remind them about the most successful part of recovery is healthy habits. How many days does it take to create a habit? Minimally 28 days. So if you want your best chance for success, stay for 28 days. And if you don't work on anything else here, you're getting healthier habits. GOP, they've got 6 months of sobriety, they've demonstrated lifestyle balance, did a service project, and mentored another client. Once they have that completed, clinician meets with them and says, cool, now just participate in alumni, stay connected. Plan an alumni event, whatever, just stay with us, stay with us, stay with us. I'm hopeful that that really is the key because we've been saying it for 2 years now, and Lee has been saying it as well. It's not about number of days. Yes, there's statistical research on 28 days and things like this. But we're gonna get clients come in that have all sorts of different issues, mortgages, families, jobs, moving, whatever, that they only have a certain amount of time. We need to be the type of facility that can take them. We know we have a minimum in residential of 14 days. That is the minimum. We don't want someone coming in for 7 days. It just doesn't work. It throws things out. 14 days is already just tough. All right, so we know we've got that much time. But other than that, what can you accomplish? And then these short-term and long-term goals is what's crucial. But it'll be crucial because we'll say short-term goal is the next 2 to 4 weeks, what are we going to accomplish here? Long-term goals, trauma therapy. This is something we're working on with the clinical team. If they have EMDR needs, I believe we still can do EMDR residential. We just need to make sure there's realistic expectations. That you know that if we start this, ripping this Band-Aid off, and you're not committed to stay doing it with us for the next 2 to 3 months or whatever, it's problematic for you. So you need to commit to sticking with me or one of our clinicians that's trained in EMDR for this much time. Yeah, we can do 1 session a week or whatever, is it 2 a week, whatever it is, for that time frame while you're in residential, but then you gotta keep doing it in PHP consistently, and we gotta keep doing IOP consistently, just like you have an individual therapist that does it for 16 weeks or whatever it is, 12 or 16 weeks. Doesn't mean we can't be a goal of theirs, but it has to be realistic goals and expectations. I would, elated if I hear a clinician meet with a client and then make a new goal for a long-term goal and say they were gonna only stay 2 weeks, but they decided to stay 6 weeks instead because they want to beat this goal. No idea how awesome that will be, because then we're really meeting where they're at, we're motivating, educating, and inspiring, and they're actually getting well all the way through their goals, not just little pieces and helping them for a little while.